Okay, so your nonprofit is growing, which is fantastic. But choosing a compliance partner, that can feel a bit overwhelming, right? Well, in this explainer, we're going to give you a super clear framework to help you make the right choice. We're diving back into our multi-state fundraising compliance series. This is where we take these really complex topics and break them down for nonprofit leaders just like you. And, this educational resource is provided by the specialists over at Ironwood Registrations.
So let's kind of set the stage here. Your nonprofit is doing great, you're succeeding, you're growing, and then you hit this new, really complex challenge: compliance. It's usually right at this point that a lot of folks realize, hey, maybe we need some help with this.
And look, it's a great problem to have, isn't it? I mean, your mission is expanding, your reach is growing, and you're starting to operate across state lines. That's a huge win.
But with that growth comes complexity. All of a sudden, what you used to handle internally becomes this tangled mess of different rules and different deadlines. And that's when leadership usually steps back and says, okay, it's time to look for some outside support.
And let me tell you, this is such a critical decision. The partner you pick has a direct, and I mean direct, impact on your accuracy, how you manage deadlines, your regulatory risk, and honestly, the amount of stress your team is under.
Which brings us to what I think is the single most important factor you need to consider: specialization. There is a world of difference between a generalist and a true specialist in this field.
So what exactly are we talking about here? Charitable registration, it's its own unique beast. It's governed by state charity statutes and overseen by attorneys general. It is not the same as corporate filings or getting a registered agent. That's a totally different ballgame, and the expertise just doesn't transfer over. It's a really common misconception.
The best way to think about this is regulatory navigation. It's not just paperwork. A real specialist gets all the little nuances, like how one state might interpret online fundraising completely differently from another. That's the kind of knowledge that's absolutely vital.
So you got to ask the right questions. Here's a great one to start with. Just ask them flat out, how much of your day-to-day work is focused specifically on charitable state registrations? Trust me, their answer is going to be very, very telling.
And here's another one that gets right to the heart of their process. Ask them, how do you track all the rule changes happening in every state, and what does that mean for us? A real specialist won't just have an answer. They'll have a system, a proactive one.
All right, let's get super practical. I've got a checklist for you. 4 key things you should be looking for when you're evaluating any potential partner.
Okay, here are the big 4. First, proven multi-state experience. Second, responsiveness and service. Third, accuracy. That attention to detail. And finally, how they handle long-term renewal management.
So, let's tackle that first one, multi-state experience. Look, managing compliance in, say, 20, 30, even 40 states, that's not a one-and-done project. It's a living, breathing, ongoing system. It needs amazing tracking and really solid document management.
So again, get specific. Ask them, what actual systems are you using to track all these deadlines and renewal statuses? You want to know if they're just winging it with a spreadsheet or if they have a real professional system built for this.
Okay, number 2, responsiveness and service. This is huge because compliance issues pop up and they're almost always time-sensitive. A grant maker suddenly needs proof of registration, or you get one of those dreaded deficiency letters from a state. You need someone who's going to be there for you fast. And this really comes down to the human side of things. You should ask, who is going to be my point of contact? And more importantly, will they actually be familiar with our file? You don't want to have to start from square one every single time you call. All right, number 3 on our list, accuracy and attention to detail. And let me be clear, this is completely non-negotiable. Your filings have to line up perfectly with your Form 99 financials. Your documents have to be current. Even a tiny error can snowball into deficiency notices, late fees. It's just not worth the risk. So how can you even test for this? Simple. Ask about their process. A question like, can you walk me through your review process before you submit anything? That's going to tell you everything you need to know. A quality firm will have a clear multi-step review system. They won't even hesitate to explain it.
And that brings us to our 4th and final priority, long-term renewal management. Remember, getting that initial registration done, that's just the starting line. The real work, the marathon, is managing those annual renewals year in and year out. That consistency is what lets you fundraise without ever having to worry.
Okay, so we've covered what to look for. Now let's flip it around and talk about what to avoid. Let's go over some major red flags that should tell you you're probably talking to a generalist, not the specialist you need.
So be really wary if a company seems to treat charitable registration as just some minor add-on service. If they can't get into the nitty-gritty of state-specific rules, or they kind of gloss over how they track renewals. Yeah, that's a huge warning sign.
And this quote really sums it up perfectly. Just because a firm is great at general business compliance, that experience does not automatically translate into the kind of deep regulatory expertise that nonprofits absolutely require. So let's just zoom out for a second and look at the big picture. Choosing a compliance partner, it's not just about getting some forms filed. It's a really strategic decision for your organization. Think about it. A really strong partner becomes part of the very infrastructure that allows you to grow. They help you stay eligible for grants, they build trust with your donors, and they give your board the peace of mind that comes with real regulatory stability.
So if there's just one thing you remember from all of this, let it be this quote right here. Charitable solicitation registration is a specialized regulatory field. It is not a general compliance task. If you make specialization your top priority, you're going to be in great shape as your fundraising continues to grow.
Hey, if you're looking for more compliance guides or other great educational resources to help your organization grow safely, you should definitely check out ironwoodregistrations.com. I really hope this was helpful for you today.